You're listening to Living in Spain podcasts with David Wright.
Hi guys, my name's David Wright and today I'm in Almeria with my friend Alejandro. And Alejandro has a big family run business here in Almeria, helping people with their tax, their residency and just about everything you need when you're moving to Spain. Alejandro is also the Honorary British Consulate here in Almeria. So today we're going to be talking about the visas and the requirements for moving to Spain. Hi, good morning Alejandro.
Good morning David, how are you?
So what's new this year as far as the visas go, and for people moving to Spain or thinking of moving to Spain, what are the different types of visas they need?
Well, basically nothing changed since beginning of 2021 for UK citizens. Because of the Brexit, things has changed and it's not so easy as it used to be in the past to live in Spain. You can come and stay 90 days every 180, but in theory you should leave after these 90 days. This is the difference with Europeans, that in theory they can leave and stay here the time they want. So at the end we have purely two options. The first option is what we call the non-lucrative visa. That is a permit, a license that is given to those normally that are retired or looking to retire, because this visa you can't work in Spain. It's just for those living without working in Spain. The requirements are basically that you have to have, for the first person in the family, around 27,000 in income or savings, and 7,000 for the second person. So a couple with 35,000 euros would be enough. You need to prove that you have that income or that savings to apply for it.
Now, can I just that can be in England or in a bank in Spain? It doesn't matter. Is that correct?
Well, in principle, it should be in England, because these people are people that don't have the right to live still in Spain, and you have to apply in England, in the Spanish embassy in London, in Manchester and Edinburgh. I think there is another one. So you need to apply there. It's not as it used to be that you have to go to the Foreign Office in the place where you are going to live. Sure. It needs to be done in England, or in the UK. So makes things a bit more difficult, and other things among that. But basically, the big obstacle is the money or the income that you have to prove that you can live by your side without helping of others.
I hear lots of people saying different amounts as well. In Malaga, people will say that they've been asked for less amounts than in somebody else in the north of Spain. Is it a definite fixed amount, and how strict are they on the requirements of that amount, or is it a roughly in that figure?
Well, maybe what you are referring to is when you used to ask the TIE in Spain, when you were asking us the foreign offices. The foreign offices, is true that although the law is national and everyone should apply, this is subject to the decision of the person that decides if you are able to have this money, or you have this money, or maybe someone are not considering that savings and others is just income. So in theory it should be the same, but this is decided in England, not in Spain.
Sure.
So what it's basically saying is that you need 400% of what we call IPREM, that is like a minimum salary. That's why we multiply and we obtain this 27,000 for each for the first person.
And for children, if you've got two children as well, you're coming over?
It's included when you have children. For your couple, for your spouse, it should be this 7,000, but for the children it's included. It's true that of course you can have this income.
Okay, so that's the main visa that people are applying for when moving to Spain. So what's the other options?
The other option is, depending on if you go and of course your let's say your wealth, you could apply for what we call the golden visa, which is the ideal one. The golden visa is is given to those that are investing in Spain, basically in property. You have other options, but basically in property, a minimum amount of 500,000 euros. So if you invest, you buy a property that the purchase price is 500,000, you will get this residency for all your family, right? It's not 500,000 for me, 500,000 for my spouse. In total, the investment is 500,000. You can invest in bonds, Spanish bonds, or deposits, 1 or 2 million. So there are other options, but the famous, the most common one is the investment in property, 1 or 2 or 3 properties, and there is no need to be just one property, right? And with this golden visa, you don't need to live here. You can come and go. You don't need to be fiscal resident. So it's easier to obtain and to move if you want to move. If you want to become fiscal resident in Spain because your interests are still in the UK, there is this option. Of course, depends in the area if you can find properties to cover that. But yes, that's the second option. And there are other options like football players, scientists, people of a high level of employees, but this is not the normal people that.
So what about if a company offers you work here in Spain? To work here in Spain, you would need a contract from that company, but it's not that easy, is it, to get a
It's
Spanish
not that
contract?
easy. Yeah, this is normally given to specialized people that are scientists or people studying things or those things, or football players or sports, but it's not normally given to a small company asking for someone to. There is an option that is that when you want to apply for a job and someone is looking to work with you, if there is not any Spanish people working or looking for that job, you could apply and obtain that residency. But this is
very
imagine it should be very. That's why it's just for bigger companies or football players or people from the art that it's easier, or it's not so easy to find anyone else doing the same as you.
I tried to explain to somebody the other day that they said, they're looking to work in a restaurant, they're a chef. And I said, well, the company was going to give them a contract. I said, but the company would have to offer it to local chefs first, Spanish people. And if there wasn't a chef that was capable of doing that job, then they would offer it to the English person. So the chances, you're on the bottom of the queue, really, to get a job like that,
Correct. It's like the process is, I would not explain everything, but it's like you have to put an offer in an employment office, and they have to look for Spanish people or people living here that have the right to work. And if no one applies to this job, is when you have the option to find someone elsewhere, in this case in the UK. Yeah. But that's, as you said, for normal jobs, that's not so easy.
Yeah, so most of the people with the Brexit and the new rules and everything, it's really made a big difference to people coming to Spain that wanted to come here. It's sort of killed it, really, the population, the British that want to come here. A lot of people have got some savings, they've got some money, but they haven't got the 27,000 or whatever to come here, and that's really stopped a lot of people coming here.
I know, and I will also want to clarify that I've received that question, maybe you did also, and people say, no, if you want to become self-employed in Spain, you can do it because you are starting like a company, and this is not the case. There is another option of obtaining the residency, the visa, is when you are starting like a company, a big company, where you are creating jobs, where you are doing something special, but it's not for normal companies like a bar, a restaurant, a shop, or just being self-employed. This is not the case that they will normally accept, because this is subject to the study of whoever studies this and accept, and they need to see that this is something that is going to create richness, that is going to be
advantage to Spain.
Correct.
I've seen somebody that's actually doing this in Malaga, and they're going to be running I think it was an estate business, but it's with boats, selling boats, and they're going to be a big company, but they're going to be employing a lot of Spanish people. but they had to present a business plan for the future 5 years,
correct,
showing their income and what they're projected to turn over. It was a very difficult process, and I think it took them about 18 months to go through the stages to be accepted to run that sort of business, because a lot of Spanish people are running business like that as well, but they were going to be an international boat company, so that was their little way in. But it wasn't straightforward at all. It's taken a lot of, but they are going to be employing mostly Spanish people in the area, so they're going to be creating jobs. So it's not straightforward. You can't open up a hairdresser's or a coffee shop and do it that way. It's not very accepted like it would be before the Brexit.
Which is not good in some way for our economy, because but this is the rules, and this is the Brexit. This is the consequences of the Brexit. And now UK is a third country, it's not in the European Union, and one of the consequences is that. But I would not want to be so. I mean, you can come. The thing is that you still can come for 90 days. You can buy property. You can buy 1, 2, 3, 4 properties. It's not any obstacle of living here. In 12 months, you could live 6 months here. So, I mean, people need to understand that it's not so hard. Maybe in the future things will be easier, but this is how it is right now.
I think a lot of people, British people that have bought properties here in the past, they're frustrated that they can't come and enjoy the property that they have in Spain for many years as often as they like. They're limited to the amount of time they can come. If they overstay their 90 days, there are penalties, because when they come across the border, I've heard of people having their passport stamped and there's a date on there, so they know when you're coming in and going out. So you could be in trouble if you exceed these times. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. That's correct.
So it's not a very good outlook for the British that are thinking of coming to Spain at the moment. Do you think there's any changes in the future to this, or do you see it being like this forever now?
I don't know. I mean, of course, Spain can't decide. I'm sure that Spain would like to change these rules, but Spain by themselves or by ourselves, we cannot change, because we belong to Europe, and we need to be attached to the European laws. If we open our borders to British, other countries could say, why are you doing that? Or even other countries not in Europe would say, why do you open to the British and you don't open to me?
So not very likely that's going to change in the near future.
I don't think so. Maybe what we said about the starting companies or being self-employed, maybe in the future they could be more flexible, like and they will reduce the requirements or something like that. But the basic rule of the 90 days that you need to apply for a visa or for residency to live here, I think it won't change. So okay.
So can we just talk about the tax law as well, which we mentioned the other day? Can we just explain that to people, that the form that they need for registering property and assets here in Spain, which is very important?
Yes. Well, imagine that you already live here, or you came to live in Spain in 2021 or before then. Those that they've been living here for a while, we have what we call the Form 720. It's a form that you need to submit when you become for first time fiscal residents. It's not for those that are non-residents, it's not for those that are not living in Spain. The Form 720 is an informative form, and there you tell the Spanish authorities what assets do you have outside of Spain, not inside, just what you have outside of Spain. Basically in 3 different chapters. Property, if you have property in England in this case, if you have investments like funds, shares, bonds, ISAs, those things, or current accounts, and everything with more than 50,000. Property valued more than 50,000, or the price you paid for it, your investments more than 50,000, or the current accounts with more than 50,000 in total. And you need to tell them what you have. Now, the news are that, or let's say, if you don't submit that form, or you submit it late, or you forgot to do it, or something like that, the penalties that there are still there if you don't submit that form are absolutely crazy. not compare with any other tax that you miss or form that you forget to submit. So two Spanish lawyers went to the European Court against Spain. This was in 2014, and they went against Spain to the European Court, and they said, okay, this is not fair. This is against all the European rules, because first, it's an obstacle to movement of people and capitals, and also the penalties has nothing to do with other forms, as I said. So they went against Spain. There was a big case there, and last week, at the end of January 2022, the court case was ended. There was the sentence, and in this sentence, Spain lost. The sentence was very hard against Spain because these things that I said. So now Spain needs to change this law, because they are forced to change or to assume what this sentence is saying, and we don't know what is going to the content of the new thing that they will issue, but probably or what they have to do is to reduce, very importantly, the penalties. I don't think that they will stop with the obligation of submitting this 720, because the sentence was not so clear on that, but the 720 penalties will be really reduced at a final point. This
720 form is something every year, or is it a one-off form when you're here in Spain?
In theory, it's the first year you become fiscal resident in Spain, and if your estate or your assets changed in more than 20,000, you have to declare every year. For example, if you had a property and you declare that property as such, and then you sold it 3 years after, you have to declare that you had a property and now you have money or investments or whatever. If your investments grow more than 20,000 euros in a year, then you have to declare. So that's in theory, if nothing moves, or for those that you have property and that's it, you don't have to declare every year. The problem was that many people, since 2012, that was this form issued, many people didn't know about it. Many people didn't realize that they had to submit that form, or they were not informed by their accountants or gestores. So the problem was that if they submitted late, the penalties were there. So there were many cases of huge penalties, and most of them are in the courts because solicitors went again. But for those people that didn't submit because they didn't know, because it was late or whatever, I think there is an opportunity when we have the final, let's say, law or the new law of the 720, and depending on what they say, it would be interesting to submit, because at least there will be peace in the way of telling them the truth.
Yeah, okay, well I'll leave a link in the description box below the video to your business, so you can advise people if they're interested in finding out more about the 720 form. Mm-hmm. They can get in touch with you or through Maria, the secretary.
Fantastic.
Okay, so not very optimistic view for British people moving to Spain. I have noticed a lot less people moving here, very frustrated with it all, but there is still ways around it. If people want to, they can sell their property in Spain and come up with the money. You know, as I always say, you know, money is a big problem for a lot of people when they're moving to Spain, but if you really want to move to Spain, you can find a way of doing it.
Yeah, at the end, for example, of the two options that we said, the non-lucrative visa, because what many people do is they sell their property in England, and with the savings they buy a cheaper house here, and they live with the savings. You could do that, because they are not asking that you get a pension of a total that we said 30,000 or 30 something. What they want is that you can prove that you can live by yourself. If you have savings, then the savings will be enough to prove, and then you can ask the non-lucrative visa.
Some people have said to me as well, the second year and the third year, you need to prove that you're earning it. But at the moment, there hasn't been a second and a third year because it's still the first year. So if you've shown that you've got the income to live here to get your residency, what happens after you've been here a year? Do you have to go to somewhere like a lawyer and show proof of income for the second and third year?
Well, this is how it works. If you apply for the non-lucrative visa, this is given for 1 year, right? Then after this 1 year, you need to apply again at the Foreign Office in Spain, right? In the place where you live. And in this time, it will be given for 2 years. But the problem is that you need to prove that you have double
money for 2 years.
Double money for the 2 years. So,
and then after that it's 5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have 1, 2, and then they give you for 5 another 2 years, and then 5. So it's 1, 2, 2, and 5. Then it goes to 5. After 5 years, probably it will be. You don't have to demonstrate this 5 years income, but at least for the initial periods, you have to prove it. And this is an issue. So I would tell people not to be really on the limit. You know what I mean? Because if you just have 40,000 euros and you come to live here and you don't have any other income and you spend, then when you apply, it's going to be hard to demonstrate that you have that money. Of course, there are other possibilities. If you have property and it's not with a mortgage, maybe we could try the possibilities. But people need to understand that things are harder than it used to be in the past. But it's the same as if you go to another country outside UK, I don't know, Asia, or I don't know, China.
A friend of mine moved to Australia and he needed to show 80,000 in the bank to move to Australia. I think Canada's the same, you know. So
that's
if
the
you
thing
look at it that way.
We were used to receive people and they easily live here, and this is one of the consequences of the Brexit. But this is what they vote. I mean, we are not happy with that because we would like many British to come here and enjoy this life. But up to date, this is a
bit more difficult. Perfect. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, Alejandro. I appreciate it, and I'll leave a link below this video to people if they want to check in the description box. There'll be a link to the form and also all of the services that Alejandro's business here offers to British people. Thanks for watching.
If you have enjoyed this podcast by David Wright, then you will love his new books. Out now on Amazon and Kindle, packed with money-saving tips and information on living and working in Spain. Just go to livinginspainbooks.com. David also has a popular blog for expats in Spain. Come and take a look now at britishexpatsinspain.com.